Hello, this is Fred Callaghan, and you are listening to the Fulham Focus podcast.
Fulham.
Hello, welcome to the Fulham Focus podcast. It's Christmas! My name is Matt Boisclair, and I spy with my little eyes something beginning with Marcelo Bielsa and Leeds United. We're here to look ahead to a game which a few weeks ago looked like it might be a top-of-the-table clash. Since then, though, we've lost 3 on the spin, although Leeds did throw away a 3-goal lead at home to Cardiff last weekend, so both teams will be looking to bounce back from respective disappointing results. Joining me to look ahead to the game, firstly, is the Michael Hector of the Fulham Focus team. He's been with us a little while and has written articles aplenty for the Focus website, but now he's making his podcast debut. Having only been born in 2003, he's worked his way up through the Focus youth team, and he's here to show us old-timers how it's done. Dannyboi has finally signed somebody with some brain cells too, as this guy is studying for business studies and economics A-levels. Welcome to the team, Will Oakley.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Hello, mate. Good to have you on board. Also joining me is the Stefan Johansson of the Focus team. He puts the shit in shithousery, and as we all know, when he's in the country, full of a crap. It's Morgan Calton. Hi, Morgs.
Oh, delighted to be here.
Good man, good man. Before we start, for those of you paying attention, Matt Boisclair is still on his pre-Christmas holiday in the USA, and a couple of days ago, he sent a picture of a fish and chip sandwich that he was ploughing his way through. And by fish, picture the traditional cod in batter rather than fish fingers. Pray for Baldo's cholesterol this Christmas. The man is an animal. All right, folks, grab a mince pie or two. Not you, Baldo. Sit back and enjoy.
Fulham.
All right, guys, so as we normally do, we're going to look back to a past encounter with this weekend's opposition. It's Leeds United. So, Morgs, memories of Leeds.
Well, I guess the big one that sticks out is the 16-17. We grabbed that 1-1 draw at the Cottage with TC's equaliser in the last minute. I think it's kind of one of those, we have played there a few times in the Premier League. I seem to remember going up there for a 3-2 loss and a fairly down 0-0. But yeah, I think obviously that game really sticks out as one to sort of remember. Even though it wasn't a win, but it was still a bit of a classic.
It did feel a bit like a win, didn't it, with the goal coming so late, and that kind of put us back into playoff contention as well, and moved them out of it, didn't it? I don't think they made the playoffs in the end. We replaced them.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was one of those situations where the sort of the whole Leeds are falling apart chant comes out of, and you look at that, and I'm sure we'll get onto it, but it does. Obviously, losing a 3-0 lead is a sign that it could happen again, but they are looking like they might have corrected a few issues, and they're looking very strong at the moment.
Okay. All right, what about you, Will?
Well, from the Leeds games that I can remember, last season's sticks out to me, which I think was around 17 or 18 unbeaten game in the unbeaten run. And what I can remember, I think McDonald might have scored off of his bum or his back or something.
He did.
Yeah, and I think the second goal was after it was quite an end-to-end game. So I seem to remember Bettinelli saving a 1-on-1 and it going straight down the other end, which was kind of a real push considering Leeds was still a very strong side the season we got.
You're right, yeah. Betts made an outstanding save, and I think the crowd were already on their feet for that. But then we just hit them on the counter-attack, and Mitro buried the second goal and put the game to bed, didn't he? That was a fantastic win that season. But Leeds were a different animal this season. I'm going to go back for my memory back to our first season in the Premier League. We went up to Ellen Road. Leeds were doing quite well, probably top 4. We were flirting with relegation, and Steve Malbronx scored the only goal of the game, and we won 1-0. And that's the only time I've ever been to Ellen Road. And I'm not sure if we've won there since. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I can't remember.
Did we get a result in the when we were in the Championship? I can't remember. I
don't think we did. We had a couple of draws. I don't remember winning up there, but I might be wrong. Wrong. I haven't got a photographic memory of the Championship seasons, so who knows? I'm sure somebody will, though. Google
I'm sure there'll be
definitely
some
will.
stats somewhere that we can have a look at.
Yeah, there will be some stats later on, I am sure. All right, so I'm going to come to you with this question then, Morgs. So we've been missing Harrison Reed recently. We've been missing Harry Arthur. Kearney's been ill, although he was back for the weekend. Bobby Reed's not been available. Scott Parker's been playing around with the team somewhat. What do you think he's going to do this weekend?
I think we'll see the same back four or same back five. I know Mawson's coming for a bit of criticism over the last couple of games, but I think he'll just keep that back four, a bit of consistency there. The midfield is the big one. What is he going to do there? We'll see Kearney. I think we'll see Johansson. I think we'll finally see Onomah come out the starting 11. He says, hopefully. And I think we might revert. Well, maybe, but we'll both see Cavallero, possibly Kamara, and then obviously Mitro. So I don't think it'll be wholesale changes, but I think there might be a couple of tweaks because it clearly wasn't working against Brentford or, any of the last 3 games. It hasn't really worked. So if he carries on playing the same team, then you're going to look at it and go, why? But on the other hand, I don't want to see massive changes because having a team that is somewhat consistent, it just needs to have that little bit of luck. So hopefully just maybe Onomah out.
What do you think, Will? Do you think Onomah will play, or do you think maybe Bobby Reed will come in for him? What about Cabano as well? Do you think Cabano will keep his place?
I think Onomah probably will end up playing. I would like to see Bobby Reed maybe take his place and play as a kind of push forward midfielder, kind of a cam role. But I can't see Scott changing him, considering against Brentford, it still wasn't a great performance from him, but it was nowhere near as bad as the games before that. And I'm not sure about Cabano, but I can see Cav keeping his place in the team, but maybe Knockaert coming in for Cabano or Knockaert taking his place.
Okay, all right. That's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, it could be any one of a number of those, players that play in the front three. Could be Knockaert, could be Cavallero, could be Cabano. Definitely Mitrovic, but take your pick from the other ones. They seem to be, just be chopping and changing at the moment. So I think Cabano's done enough to keep his place. To be honest, I thought he looked good in the first half against Brentford. Probably one of our more creative players, and I don't see any reason to drop him. He's looked excellent when he's come on in the previous games as well. He kind of livened things up, but then I wonder whether he's a better option off of the bench. To liven things up, as is Kamara. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, next I want to touch upon what we need to change from the last few games. So if Marcelo Bielsa was to send his spies to the Fulham training ground this week, Will, what would he see? And what would you expect the team to be doing differently, if anything?
Well, what I would probably think he would see is Scott Parker probably talking to Onomah again. But what I would like to see is probably one of the youth midfielders getting more of a chance with training with kind of the likes of Tom Kearney and Stefan Johansson, because they bring energy to the team. Onomah doesn't seem to bring that much energy. And I'd like to see the defence kind of working together as a team, because they seem to be working individually at the minute. With Joe Bryan kind of pushing forward, it leaves a massive gap out on the left. And no one seems to be dropping back or shifting over to that side to help. So hopefully Stuart Gray or Scott Parker has kind of spoken about that to try and get the defence sorted out.
I know what you mean. It's easy to criticise individual players here when you talk about Joe Bryan going forward and leaving a big gap, because it's a team effort. So if there's a gap in that part of the pitch, then somebody should be covering if Joe Bryan's up the pitch. And it's very easy to just say, well, Joe Bryan's the problem. But Joe Bryan is an attacking fullback. He's always going to get forward like that. So, we need to make provisions for being hit on the counter-attack. I think that's a good point. What about you, Mort? Anything different you're expecting this week?
I think, Will touched on it. The defence are playing a lot of sort of individual football at the moment. They, as our back four are, Cyrus and Bryan, they're both attacking fullbacks. Ream and Mawson are very much, they have to be ball-playing centre-backs, considering what, the style of football we play. But I don't know what they've been doing on the training ground. I mean, Stuart Gray was integral to our sort of defence in that promotion season. And it's just whether it's, the coaching is slightly different from his point of view, or whether it is just these individual errors making the defence look ropey. It's just something that needs to be worked on. But at the same time, my big issue, and I've touched on this before, and it's fairly obvious, is that we rely too heavily on Mitro for goals. And when he's not in the game, for whatever reason, be it his own performance or the performance around him, we are sorely lacking an attacking threat. And we really need to be working on that, because that, as we go into Christmas, as we go into the new year and into the business end of the season, that is going to be an issue that is going to see us drop into mid-table, because you can't rely, no matter how good the player is, on one man to carry your team through this incredibly difficult league. So I hope they'll be spending some time on the training pitches, really sort of working on goals from other positions. So whilst our defence might be looking a bit dodgy, I think we really need to be working on our attack as well and be that little bit more clinical.
Fair enough. And for me, I'm hoping that they're just going to be working on Alfie Mawson being able to stay on his feet and not just falling on his arse occasionally, giving away stupid goals. Fed up with him, to be honest, at the moment. Anyway, I digress. Right, let's look at some stats then. So head-to-head, Fulham and Leeds have only met 45 times in total. Fulham have won 18 of those and Leeds have won 22, so we're slightly behind. Fulham have won 2 of the last 8 encounters, but there have been 5 draws and Leeds have only won 1. The last meeting was the game that Will spoke about earlier when Fulham won 2-0 during the promotion run-in of the 17-18 season. Goals from Kamak and Mitrovic won the game then. Before that, the last 5 games we played against Leeds were all draws. The last defeat to Leeds came at the Cottage in the 2014-15 season when we lost 3-0 in March 2015. Staphylidis managed to get sent off by getting 2 yellow cards in the space of a minute. We've won 12 out of 28 home games against Leeds in all competitions. Aside from the home defeat in 2015, the last time we lost at home to Leeds was in March 1985 when we lost 2-0 in the old Division 2. Recent players who have played for both clubs, we've got Andy Lonergan, Matt Smith, Michael Brown, of course Ross McCormack, Mike Taylor, David Healy, Jeff Horsfield, Tony Warner and Olivier Dacour. Will, I'm going to come to you now. You're going to talk us through how Leeds have been getting on so far this season.
Well, this season, Leeds have been averaging around 2.1 points per game, which is obviously impressive, but we know what happened when we were in the Premier League and they obviously slipped up towards the end. Their games seem to be relatively low scoring about 1.6 goals per game. And they've kept 12 clean sheets in 21 games, which is obviously over half, so that's very impressive. But they'll have to see if they can deal with Mitrovic, considering he's top scorer in the league at the minute. Before they drew to Cardiff last week, slipping up on their 3-0 win they were having, they won 7 games before that and are currently on an 11-game unbeaten run. They're currently 4 points better off than they were at the same stage this time last season. And they've only had 3 defeats this season, 2 of which have came away from home. Their average possession is 59.7%, whereas Fulham's is 61%, meaning that possession could be one of the main focuses in the game, considering that's one of both teams' focus. And 44% of their attacks do come down the right side, meaning if Joe Bryan is pushing forward a lot, someone is going to need to shift over and cover for him. And they only concede 40% of their goals from open play, so set pieces could come in handy, although we never seem to be able to actually get a corner in the box and play it short instead.
You're right, actually. We don't score that many from set pieces, do we? I don't know if you've seen, or you, Morgs, I don't know if either of you have seen that documentary series on Amazon Prime about Leeds. It documented their last season from start to finish when they were going so well and then they just blew it at the end of the season and missed out not only on automatic promotion, but obviously messed up in the playoffs to Derby as well.
I've been recommended it, so...
Yeah. Yeah, definitely watch it. It's interesting. If only just to hear the Leeds fans go, "Yeah, we're definitely going up this season." Don't know what accent that was, but they all the way through they were confident they were going up, and then they blew it. But my point I was going to make was that they are very in your face from the start. They're high press. But the reason that they didn't go up last season, due to a lot of people's belief, is that they just burnt out because they're just so. They put so much pressure on from early in the games, and then they just fade away. And last week, obviously, they were 3-0 up against Cardiff, and they blew it. So I wonder whether this is just the start of them starting to burn out. Anyway, Morgs, I'm going to come to you. Who are their key men this season?
Well, you've got to look at Ryan Tunnicliffe's best mate, Patrick Bamford, as their danger man at the moment. He scored 5 in the last 7 games after a bit of a poor run for the last, best part of a year or so. I think he's been sort of pretty useless, but he seems to have sort of come good at the moment. So obviously with Ream and Mawson looking a little bit dodgy, you've got to expect that he's going to be getting chances. So we're going to have to make sure, really sort of get into him, make sure he doesn't get those clear-cut opportunities. Also, they brought in Helder Costa in the summer, and he scored 2 goals in the last 4 appearances. And I think, it was something that Fulham looked at as well, wasn't he, last season? And I think we've got to be watching out for him, because we'll know what, having watched him, we will know what he can offer to the team. They've also got a really good goalkeeper. They've got Francesco Casilla, who was Iker Casillas' number 2 at Real for a while. And I mean, when they signed him, that was a bit of a coup. But he's, as Will pointed out, they've kept 12 clean sheets, I think it was, over the course of the season so far, which is something that we can only dream of. So all around, they've got, good players in, each of the lines. So they are a good team. They do have a very good coach. And, we really need to up our game so much just to be able to sort of take them on. And I know we're at home. It'll be a good atmosphere. It will, drive the players on if we don't, lose an early goal. So I think if we can keep some of these players quiet, I think, another midfield, Klich Mateus, the Polish guy, he's quite strong. So we just got to keep, really keep these guys under wraps. And, how we've been playing recently, that may be more difficult than it sounds. So I think really need to sort of get on top of them, play our game, but effective form thereof. And hopefully we can nab an early goal. And then for the love of God, don't concede silly ones. And if we do, I think then we'll see the fans getting on the players' backs again. And, we may talk about this, but I think Parker's going to have a really tough time if we don't get a win in this.
This is a concern, though, isn't it? With them being so good and starting so well and just high pressing, and us being the sort of team that sits back and we're almost like very casual with our approach. And we know if we concede an early goal, then we could capitulate, and especially if Leeds just go for the jugular. So we're really going to have to change our approach from the start of the game. But you mentioned Scott Parker then, and he's kind of like the talk of the town at the moment. And Don and I spoke about him in the Brentford Reaction show. Danny has nailed his colours to the mast on Scott Parker with his piece on the Fulham Focus website this week. If you haven't read it, then I'd recommend you read that. I'm going to come to you first, Will. Where do you stand with Scott at the moment? Is Saturday a must-win for you?
I think Saturday, I would say it is a must-win. But personally, I wouldn't say I'm Parker in or Parker out. I think if we could find a good replacement who's going to help us push for the automatic promotion spots or at least keep us in 3rd, 4th place, secure in the playoff spots, then I think it would be the right thing to get Parker out. But at the minute, I can't see us getting a really good replacement until another kind of low Premier League manager gets sacked.
That's the problem, though, isn't it? You're waiting for the managerial merry-go-round to kick in, so you can start picking off somebody who's been crap elsewhere, and that's the danger here. What about you, Morgs? Saturday must win for you, or are you a bit more inclined to be patient with Scott Parker?
I think I would like Parker to have time, because I hate the fact that we keep sacking managers, after a few losses. But the fact of the matter is, he's not doing a good enough job if we lose our fourth game of the spin. And the Khan's ambition is to get us back into the Premier League, first time of asking. If we lose to Leeds, then we've got a 14-point gap between the two of us going into Christmas. And whilst we could have a great run in the beginning of next year, it's still going to be a massive points gap to overturn. So I think we will see a change if we lose this one. Maybe not straight away. If we then go on to the next game and don't win that, then maybe that's when the change will happen. I think they'd want to have a new manager in, if need be, at the beginning of the transfer window, so they can sort of set them up for the players they're going to sign, if they're going to sign anyone. And see, the rumours around are that Houghton is looking for a job in London, which is what I've heard anyway. And, as a manager with a pedigree of taking teams up to the Premier League, I think he would probably be one of those that they would turn to. I don't like the fact that in the past, whenever they've sacked a manager, they've had one lined up, because that clearly means that they've been working behind the scenes to bring in a new boss, which will unsettle any manager, because it would be clear that was happening. So I really hope that if we do fire Parker, then we have a period where we do have a caretaker in, just to really think about it, rather than going for these, inverted commas, no risk options. And, just have that right boss. And, we may get the new Slav, or we may stick with Parker and he may come good. But the omens aren't great. It's a hard league to play in. And whilst we have played some good football at times, it's really looking as if it's just a bit too much for him to handle at this particular moment.
I just hope somebody ends up sacking their manager and Chris Houghton takes over there, so we can put that rumour to bed, because it's a tedious rumour. I know he's got a record for getting clubs promoted from the Championship, but God, watching his Brighton team play, they were shit. And I know they stayed up, but it was boring, and we're already watching boring football here. Let's get somebody else in, not the bloody Spurs assistant manager for years. Boring.
But do we think that the fact that it is boring football that Houghton plays, but is effective, that would be a step up from the boring football that's ineffective at the moment, and it would only be for another half season.
Oh, it wouldn't be though. It wouldn't only be for another half season. If they brought Houghton in, he would be here for the at least a couple of years until he started doing shit, and then they'd sack him as well.
Yeah, point. I don't. I mean, at the moment, you're right. There isn't really anyone out there who we look to and go, oh yeah, he's a brilliant option. You don't want to bring in Quique Sanchez Flores or something, because he's gone and screwed things up at Watford. You're not going to bring Marco Silva in, because Everton may have taken a sort of a punt on him, but he's been pretty bang average where he's gone. And then what are you left with? You're left with sort of a bunch of merry. I mean, Pardew. I mean, the seeing Pardew at the QPR game making notes, that was that was one of those where you look at it and go, surely not manager, but my theory is that they're going to be looking to bring in a new director of football.
He's gone somewhere else. He's gone somewhere abroad, hasn't he?
Well, there was talk about it, but I don't know if he's actually gone or not.
Okay.
I think it was somewhere in Holland. But I think after this window, I think we might see Tony Khan taking a step back from the director of football role, because he's clearly got other things on his plate and he's not getting the appreciation that he so sorely wants. And so I think we may end up seeing a new one come in, still with Tony Khan, ruling the roost when it comes to transfers. But I think we're going to be looking at a more experienced footballing brain coming into the club at some point in the next few months.
I was about to say that it's not just kind of the manager, it's the relationship between the manager and the director of football. And whether that's finding a manager that meets Tony Khan's needs, which is definitely hard considering he wants to control all the transfers, or whether it's Tony Khan stepping down and getting a new director of football, because I think that's the better option, but I just don't know if he would do it, because he doesn't know anything about football, does he, really? He knows a bit, of course, but he signed Seri, and everyone thought that would be good, but he also signed enough to build a whole new team.
You look at
and look how
the reason Seri good is the reason Seri looked good is because he looked good on paper, and
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the only
And
thing that Khan really works from.
and he's
but
not
then-
looking as a whole.
No,
Yeah.
and the thing is, that's fine. That's almost what you would think would be fine for the Premier League because it's a bit more of a stats-based league. You know what you're coming up against. In the Championship, you don't know what you're coming up against a lot of the time because whilst on paper, a lower level Championship centre-back might seem a bit shit, he's actually hard as fucking nails and he will take out one of your really good players.
Mm.
Now, that will unsettle a player, which might put towards a sort of bad performance. But I think they just kind of need to bring someone in who knows the game. And whether that is to support Parker or if it's to support a new manager, I mean, it's hard to say, but I think Pardew would be an awful choice.
Yeah, agreed.
His reputation amongst players is not the best. I mean, he gets players up for, a good season, gets teams sort of, in good positions. But yeah, I don't think Pardew would be a good option. I think he would be, he would unsettle whoever the manager is. I don't think it would be an easy person to work with. And in terms of what the club needs, it needs a bit of stability coming back into it. And I think a sort of fairly well-seasoned head coach supported by a director of football with a good level of footballing knowledge from sourced over the years would be great. And whether we get that, who knows?
Well, I think you're going to struggle to find somebody that's going to want to come in and work under this model. But anyway, let's move on to the next point. So I want to bring Will in on this because I'm interested to know, as a 16-year-old, I've been following the club since the late 80s, and I grew up when Fulham were awful. We didn't know whether we were going to get to stay in the ground or not for many years, and we kind of bummed along, got relegated to the bottom division. So I've seen Fulham in all the divisions. I've seen us get promoted from all the divisions, and I've seen us in the Premier League for 14 seasons as well. And to be quite honest, I'm over the Premier League. I don't really care whether we go back to it or not. I've said so many times on this show, I just want a team to be proud of. But as somebody, Will, who's only been following the club for a few years due to your age, what do you feel about the Premier League? Do you want to get back there at all costs, or are you just quite relaxed about it?
I mean, in our promotion season, 100%. The way kind of the atmosphere was leading up to the end of the season, especially when we were going on our unbeaten run. But with kind of VAR and everyone complaining in the Prem, everything like that, I would not be too annoyed if we stayed in the Championship. But at the end of the day, if you're not pushing for the next thing above, then there's kind of not that as much point in kind of getting the wins and getting the victories. And think about our promotion season, kind of the comeback against Derby, that meant so much to everyone. And obviously the win at Wembley, it's just such a big deal, and it's something to kind of look forward to. And I take that point completely, but it's almost like the journey to get to the Premier League is an enjoyable one, but when you get to the Premier League, it's like, oh, well, there's so many things to dislike about the Premier League. As you said, VAR, the fact that we can't compete at the highest level, so we're just almost like clinging on by the tips of our fingers to try and stay in the Premier League, and for what? To do the same the next season. And if we get any good players, then they're going to leave anyway. Otherwise, if we don't get any good players, then we'll go down. So it's a rock and a hard place in so many ways. Yeah, I see what you mean. But the thing is, would you have kind of the journey without getting there? Because if you're not bothered about getting there, is the journey to get there? Is that going to be as meaningful?
Yeah, no, you're right. I completely take that. Morgs, did you want to come in on this?
Yeah, the thing is, I remember when I first started watching, we were in sort of lower reaches of the old Division 3. And it was a great family club and stuff. And then obviously a couple of seasons later, Alfie had bought the club, and it all changed. But that was all very exciting. But that was very new. It was a whole new experience for English football, really, seeing someone like that come in. And it was the issue I have with not being in the Premier League is that clubs are always in danger, especially someone like us, who is spending money like they're a Premier League team. Be it on transfer fees, be it on wages, be it on stadium redevelopment, whatever. And we kind of need to be there to be stable as a business. And whilst that is the boring side of it, it's also the fact of life nowadays that you're only a stable club if you're in the Premier League. Anything outside of it, you could end up going bankrupt and doing a Bury or Macclesfield or whatever. And you don't want to be in that position because it's horrible to watch. And there is no exciting journey because you're always wondering, what's going to happen next season? We've spent a load of money, but, we're not making anything back. So I think that's more of a commentary on English football generally than, us as a single team. But, it'd be great to be back in the Premier League and then, have a solid season. But at the moment, Championship football's exciting. It's great. But you kind of need to go up to really make the excitement, worthwhile.
Nice one, Morgs. Okay, so we're going to come on to a score prediction, and I'm going to come to you first, Will. Fulham versus Leeds at the Cottage. What's your prediction?
I'm going to say a 1-1 draw with us scoring first, most likely, because if they score first, I can't see us getting back into it, to be honest. So I think we're going to have to score first if we have any chance in this match, because it's definitely not going to be a 0-0 draw. We're definitely going to concede. But 1-1 is what I can see happening.
Every week somebody says we're definitely going to concede. It's bloody depressing, isn't it? But every week it happens. What about you, Morgs? What's your prediction, mate?
I think we're going to concede. In fact, I think we're going to concede twice. But I also think we're going to score twice. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw in this. I'd like to think we're going to win, but I'm trying to be realistic as a rational football pundit.
Okay. So you reckon 2-2? I think we're going to win, but I'm the eternal optimist. I think we'll win 2-1, but we will see. All right, let's bring the Leeds preview to a close then, and let's have a quiz.
Fulham.
Right, so it's Dannyboi quiz. Listeners at home, there are 40 points to play for. My co-hosts both have 24 points to play for each. Round 1 is called Last Time Out. As you know, last weekend marked our final league game at Griffin Park. So what I want you guys to do is give me the facts from the following statements about the last time a particular incident occurred at Fulham. Each statement requires 2 answers, so each question in this round is worth 2 points. Will, as it's your debut, I'm going to come to you first, so you can pick from set 1 or set 2. What would you like, mate?
Set 1.
Set 1. Okay, so there's 2 points for each question, as I said. Question 1. Ryan Sessegnon's last goal for Fulham, and I want the opponent and the score, please.
Ooh.
Ryan Sessegnon's last goal for Fulham.
I can remember him. Did he score against Cardiff last season? Maybe I can't remember when we played them. Did we lose to Cardiff 4-2? And did he score then?
We did lose to Cardiff 4-2. He did score, but he's scored since, mate. He scored on Boxing Day last year at home to Wolves in a 1-1 draw.
Oh.
So no points for you there, I'm afraid, mate. Good effort, though.
No worries,
okay.
No worries.
Question 2 to you. Last time we played Rotherham away, I need the result and the season. That was a tough question. I wouldn't have got this.
Last time we played Rotherham away. 2017-18 season, or were they in the league? No, 2017-18 and 3-1 win.
No points again, mate. I'm afraid we won 1-0 in April 2017. So it's the 16-17 season.
Oh, really?
That was a tough one. I'd never have got that. Okay, question 3. Last time we scored a penalty, and I'm looking for the opponent and the scorer.
It was Mitrovic, but I can't remember who against. Mitrovic against Derby?
Millwall. It was Mitrovic against Millwall with a 4-0 win. So you get 1 point there, mate. It's not too bad.
That's fine.
Not too bad. Okay, so coming on to set 2 now for Morgs. You ready, mate?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, question 1. Felix Magath's last game in charge of Fulham, and I'm looking for the opponent and the score.
Oh, God. Was it... No, well, it'd be a loss. Let's say a 3-0 loss to Leeds.
It was a 5-3 defeat away at Forest, so no points to you there.
Fair enough.
Well done for anybody who got that at home. That is something that I think all of us have tried to erase from our memory. And by something, I mean Felix Magath's entire reign at Fulham. Right, question 2 for you, mate. Joe Bryan's last goal for Fulham. Who was it against and what was the score? Joe Bryan's only goal for Fulham, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's only scored one, hasn't he?
Who was it against?
So, I have no idea. Was it Everton? We lost 2-1?
It was this season, mate. It was home to Wigan in September. We won 2-0. This is going really well so far, isn't it?
Yeah, really well. Yeah.
Question 3. Last time we played on a Monday night in the Premier League, I'm looking for the opponent and the score.
Oh, God. Was it Crystal Palace and lost 2-0?
No, mate. It was away at Huddersfield on Bonfire Night last year. We lost 1-0, and it was Slavisa's penultimate game in charge before being sacked after the defeat at Liverpool. Bloody hell, Will. I bet you didn't think you'd be winning. Bet you didn't think you'd be winning after that, did you?
No, I mean, no, not particularly.
Morse. No,
it's been a long day.
Round, mate. Poor show, yeah. Right, so after round 1, Will is 1-0 up. Okay, round 2 is Family Fortunes. Since it's close to Xmas, Dannyboi got his bonus out again. We're giving you 5 guesses each plus an extra bonus point for each answer. All you have to do is name the last 10 opponents we've played on Boxing Day. For a bonus point, give us the correct score from that game. So this is going to be back and forth. So, Will, I'm going to come to you first.
Wolves 1-1.
Well done, mate. That's 2 points to you.
Um,
Whenever you're ready, Morse. Whenever you're ready. I know you're probably still pissed from Christmas Day on Boxing Day, but...
I'm pissed from last Thursday still. Arsenal 4-1.
Arsenal 4-1. I believe that was on New Year's Day, mate.
Same thing.
So, well, same thing, sure. New Year's Day, Boxing Day, sure. No points. Back to you, Will. Guess number 2.
I think there was in our promotion season, I think we played Cardiff. And I think, because where I got 4-2 from earlier, did we win 4-2?
We did, mate.
Cess scored as well. Cess scored. That's where I was getting
right.
it from.
Cess always scores against Cardiff.
Exactly,
Another 2 points for you, mate. Well played. Morgs, come on, mate. You are getting an absolute hammer in here.
Yeah, I do remember we beat, we played Ipswich at Portman Road. I think we won that one 2-0.
We did, mate. Well done. That's 2 points to you. Well played. That was in the 16-17 season. All right, back to you, Will. Guess number 3.
Did we play Blackburn at any point?
We didn't play Blackburn, mate. That is a nil point for you on guess number 3. Morgs, chance for you to get back into it.
No, I remember the last season of the Premier League. Well, not last season. Season I came back from Oz. We played Southampton at Craven Cottage.
Yes.
Did
What's the score?
we win 2-1?
We didn't win, mate. We did play Southampton, but we drew 1-1.
Ah.
So you've clawed your way back into it a little bit with a point there. All right, Will, guess number 4 for you.
It really is a guess. Leeds, maybe?
We haven't played Leeds.
No.
Just in case for your next guess you think of going north, they normally try and keep the games around Christmas close to home. That's a little tip. Okay, Morgs, back to you. Guess number 4.
I do remember a Spurs game. I think back in about end of the last decade. So I think that falls just in it. I think I can't remember the score, but I remember it was a draw.
Have a guess.
1-1.
Oh, you're close, mate. We did play Spurs in 2009-10, and it was 0-0. So you get another point there. Well done, mate. Will, last guess.
Did we play Millwall on Boxing Day?
We didn't play Millwall either, mate, I'm afraid. Sorry. Bit closer to home there. It's a good guess. In actual fact, I say things are closer to home. They normally try and keep it south and north. And I remember in the 90s at one point, we had Plymouth away, which is a horrible trip to do on Boxing Day. I think we did win 4-0 or 4-1 or something, though, so it's worth it for those that did go. I didn't go. Right, anyway, Morgs, last guess for you in this round, mate.
I had a West Ham game, I think. Although have I said West Ham already?
No, you haven't said it already.
Well, I'll say West Ham. I think we lost that one as well. I think we lost quite bad. Was it? Did we lose 3-1 to West Ham?
That is a shout, mate. Well played. That's 2 points to you. We did lose 3-1 at home to West Ham in 2010-11. So, out of that round, Will got 4 points, and you ended up with 6 points. So you are ahead 6-5 after the first 2 rounds, so all to play for. I'll just quickly run through all of these. These are in reverse order. So 2018-19, Fulham 1, Wolves 1, Cardiff 2, Fulham 4, Ipswich 0, Fulham 2, Derby 2, Fulham 0. I don't remember that one at all. Bournemouth 2, Fulham 0, Norwich 1, Fulham 2 in 13-14, Fulham 1, Southampton 1, Chelsea 1, Fulham 1 in 11-12, Fulham 1, West Ham 3 in 10-11, and Fulham 0, Spurs 0 in 2009-10. Close but no cigar, to be honest, going back as far as Boxing Day 2004. The only other answers are Arsenal. The other years we played Spurs 3 years in a row and Chelsea twice, who were already mentioned. And in 2006 we played Charlton on the 27th, which doesn't count. Well done at home if you got all 10 of those. We had a shocker here, but we will move on to the next round anyway, which is Guess the Player. So for those of you who aren't familiar, you get eight facts about a Fulham player. And fact 1 gives you 8 points. Fact 2 gives you 7 points. So you have to have a guess. And if you guess it from the first fact, you get 8 points. From the second fact, you get 7 points. Third fact, you get 6 points, etc., right the way through to fact 8, where you get 1 point. And if you get it on fact 9, you get absolutely fuck all. There is no fact 9, and you're pretty useless if you don't get it in 8 anyway. All right, so I'm going to read out these facts and shout out your name if you want to have a guess. But you are frozen out once you've had a guess, okay? Right. Fact number 1. This player is 6'5" tall. Fact number 2. He made his Fulham debut in August 2017. Fact number 3. He signed for the club aged 16 and came through the Fulham Academy. Fact number 4. He was part of the club's only side to make it into the Youth Cup final.
Will.
Go on, Will.
Is it Dan Burn?
Dan Burn. Okay, so you're frozen out, mate. You've guessed on fact number 4, which would give you 5 points. Okay, fact number 5. He hasn't scored any goals. Fact number 6. He's been relegated from the Championship.
Morgan.
Go on, Morgs.
Is it Marek Rodak?
Okay, so you're frozen out on fact number 6, which I think would give you 3 points. Fact number 7. He celebrated his 23rd birthday on Friday. Fact number 8. He's a goalkeeper. Well done, Morgs. It is Marek Rodak.
Woo!
Well played, mate. So the final scores there were Morgan had 9 points after getting absolutely nothing in round 1, and Will had 5 points. So it was quite close, but there you go. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Will, enjoy that for your debut.
Yeah, it was really good. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll look forward to having you back soon. Morgs, plans for Christmas, mate?
With the mother-in-law and the child, the missus might come too. And then I will be sitting on my arse, drinking and watching crap TV for the foreseeable.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
What about you?
I say that I'm going to be probably looking after the child and cleaning and all that crap. So it's fine.
Cleaning?
Oh.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Rock and roll Christmas in your house then. What about you, Will? What are you up to, mate?
No, not much really. Probably just stay at home, family come round.
Nice. Very nice too. Traditional stuff. Great stuff. All right. Well, thanks you both for joining me, and to all of you for joining at home. We will have a show for you after the Leeds game, but we'll then take a little break over Christmas. Keep an eye on social media for full details of when we'll return in the new year, or just subscribe and you'll get our shows delivered to your device as soon as it's released. In the meantime, from all of us at Fulham Focus, have a very Merry Christmas. And remember to feed the Baldwin. Let him know it's Christmas time. See you soon. Cheers.
Fulham.